All right, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 1974 Volkswagen Karmann Ghia. Behind me is a 1.6 liter flat four and down below is a 4-speed manual transmission. Guys, this is an absolute bucket list car for me to review for a couple reasons. First of all, I love the look, feel, and just spunkiness of 70s Volkswagens. I mean, just look at the color. Look at how happy this little thing just looks and how it drives, which I'll explain in a little bit. The other reason why I'm super excited to be driving this car and what we'll get back to is the fact that this is air-cooled. There is no radiator in this car. This is an air-cooled flat four, and I've never driven an air-cooled vehicle before, so this is just all out. This is just super exciting for me. But let's get back to that 1.6 liter flat four. Well, I think it puts out 60-ish horsepower. That's not really the point. If you're buying a Karmann Ghia for mad horsepower to do, you know, highway pulls or race at the Route 66 dragway, you're buying the wrong car. Like I mentioned earlier, it is air-cooled. There is no radiator, which, if you're unfamiliar, Volkswagens used to be this way for a very, very long time. They had no radiator. They were very simple, very easy to maintain, because this particular engine, transmission, drivetrain of the Karmann Ghia was actually used by the German military. And so it had to be easy. You couldn't be out on the battlefield and puncture a radiator on a rock. So they just did away with radiators. Oh, no way. So, I know this is a street, but no one's behind me. I'm gonna slow down here. So if you're wondering about other air-cooled engines, what else had air-cooled? There is for sale, a Volkswagen Beetle. I'll try to get in the background of the shot. That also has an air-cooled flat four. Like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed manual transmission. It clicks right into gear. I love the feel of the shifter. Now the clutch pedal is a little odd. It's hinged at the floor and your foot kind of can slide over it. So it's really interesting to get used to. But once you're used to it, and that's that. Last but not least, of course, it is rear-wheel drive, which means the Karmann Ghia actually has a transaxle. So let's talk about the interior. Not a whole lot to talk about here, but we'll talk about it anyway. So in front of me, I have 2 gauges. On the left is my speedometer, and on the right is actually a clock. This is really, really interesting. I've seen clocks in place of tachometers before. However, this clock actually has the warning lights in between the digits. When I look at it, is it 12 o'clock? Or is it battery voltage o'clock? Or is it turn signal o'clock? Or is it oil pressure o'clock? I think that's so comical. I think that's so funny, but it's so quirky, and that's what this car is all about. To the left of me are my headlights and my hazard switches, and on the door, of course, I have just my crank window. No power windows here in the Karmann Ghia. However, you don't really need them. One thing I love about the doors is the handles. On the outside, the handle, there's this little click. It's so satisfying. This feels like a real car door. It has that satisfying clunk, that build quality clunk that has gone away in recent decades. On the steering wheel, I of course don't get any buttons, but I do have this logo. That is the Wolfsburg logo. This is the factory wheel. That is the logo that came in the Karmann Ghia. I had no idea what that was before the owner told me. So that's pretty neat. In the center, I do get a Karmann Ghia logo. This is very, very cool. This is that old style sort of font that Volkswagen and Porsche used. I absolutely love the look of it. I don't think it really gets much better than that. Down below that, I do have an AM and FM radio, which goes to the 1 speaker on top of the dash. That little vent, that is your 1 speaker. So don't expect to really crank the tunes per se. Down below that, I have 2 air vent controls and a fastened seatbelt and brake light. Now, down below that radio, I do have a tachometer. This was added later. This is not the factory tachometer. However, like I mentioned, the gauges, I don't actually have one from the factory. So it's nice to kind of know what the engine is doing. But again, this did not come from the factory with a tachometer right there. Then I do have a little center console, 2 cup holders, little garage door opener holder, things like that, nothing too crazy. And then the shifter. This is a Hurst shifter, and you'll notice there's a little loop. So in order to get into reverse, you have to pull up, and then you shift it to where second gear would normally be, so left and back, which is really, really interesting. I've driven cars where you have to pull up on the shifter, but never put it into the second gear spot. It's normally the first gear or sixth gear. Now we have to talk about the seats. The seats are nice and comfortable. I mean, they're 70s seats. They're nice and cushy. You know, it's just, what more can you say, you know? Now, this Karmann Ghia does have back seats. However, back seats were actually discontinued in 1972 because you needed a shoulder restraint seatbelt, and Volkswagen said, it's not worth the effort. So these are actually back seats out of a earlier Karmann Ghia. The 74 normally would not have them, but they are Karmann Ghia back seats. So we're outside the Karmann Ghia, and the top obviously is manual. Folds up like so. This is not the factory top. This actually is a reproduction top, and then it actually does have glass in the back. It would normally just hook right in, but that's how the top operates. And then you have these two hooks, so they would hook in to like the top of the thing and then push it down, and it sort of, you know, pulls it in, which is very, very cool. I'm not going to mess with that too much. Now we got to talk about the looks. And I'm pausing on purpose. Look at this car. Possibly, honestly, probably one of the most gorgeous, one of the most beautiful shapes to come out of the 70s, well, really the 60s, actually really the 50s, well, sort of actually the 30s, really. It's timeless. It's a beautiful, beautiful car. The one issue with the body is the fact that you don't actually have body panel lines. So if you need a new fender, it's a lot bigger of a mission than bolting one on from the junkyard. However, look at this car. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. It's jaw-dropping. I can't stop looking at this car. It is drop dead. I love this car so much, and getting back to it, I love driving this car. Yes, it's old. Yes, it's slow. Yes, I'm getting passed by very average cars right now, but I don't care. I am smiling. I'm happy. This is just, everything works together. It's a little team just to make you happy, and it reminds me of old machinery. Everything's click, 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 click. Everything has a purpose. There's no fluff. There's no crumple zones. There's no airbags. There's no sensors. There's no blind spot monitoring. There's no cruise control, nothing. It's just you and the open road. I absolutely love it. It's simple to drive, it's easy to drive, it's fun to drive, and it just puts you in a good mood. It just floats along.
There's currently a group of elementary school kids on bicycles yelling "sweet car" from the distance. We'll see what happens.
It's a Volkswagen. The owner of this car bought this car in 1981. This is all original, and I know you're looking at the odometer and you say, wow, that's a really clean 35,000 mile Karmann Ghia. And normally I would agree with you, but the odometer has rolled over 2 times on this car. This is a 235,000 mile Karmann Ghia. Look at how well it's held up. It got resprayed. This is the factory color, and they use factory lacquer and factory paint. It's been resprayed, sure, but the interior is all original. The engine's original. Look at it. When you drive a Karmann Ghia, you might have to prepare to show up a little bit later than you expect. It's a slow old car, but you should expect to show up a little bit happier than if you showed up in your Corolla or your Honda Civic. This is just a joyful, joyful car, and I'm so incredibly thankful for being given the opportunity to drive this car. It's just, this is a once-in-a-lifetime sort of thing. Huge, huge, huge thank you to Austin and his father. This is Austin's dad's car. A huge thank you to them for letting me take this car out. I mean, really, truly, this is just a classic. It's a classic, classic car. I love it. I really, really love it. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.